in some way, what would you want to say to them?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots I could say, but I think it's a deeply meaningful, valuable, Christ-honoring thing to be involved in. We saw it help our church family in significant ways.
Like what kind of ways?
I think it increased our worldview. I've realized that when we're obsessed with our world, we forget we're called to the whole world. And Jesus has called us to reach the whole world, and I think it helped our worldview. We've grown so much. It was a whole church family effort, right from children right through to seniors. Everybody was pitching in, brought some unity to our congregation. It was just beautiful responses that took place that way. But if for other churches, organizations, I would say even just practically, it would be really important and valuable to talk to some other organizations or churches that have done this successfully to learn.
Okay.
There's some things that we've learned that we're going to do differently when we do this again.
Sure. So pass on kind of your wisdom that you've gained.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we've already done that for a number of different churches and organizations, and we're willing to help. And the other thing I would say is there's more details and more involved in this than probably people anticipate. And so it's good to have at least one person who's fully dedicated to this. This is all that they do. This is their ministry, and they're not involved in a lot of other things, so that they can stay on top and track along. And I will say this, some churches that I've been a part of and seen that they get excited at first at the potential and the possibility, but then 6 months, 8 months into the process, some of the excitement can go away and the hard work is there, and you need somebody with the fortitude and endurance to kind of continue on. I think those would be some of the key elements.
I'm wondering maybe on a personal level if you can share how this has impacted you and your faith being involved in this.
I have been amazed at the beauty of this family, and as they've come, like I've said, the perseverance and the endurance that they've faced and what they've walked through, I can't even begin to imagine what they've experienced. But the grace that I see, their servant-heartedness, they just jumped right in right away, and I've been challenged just in my own life to see their humility and their Christ-likeness in the way that they're serving and loving, and I'm very, very thankful for them and the example that they are of Jesus to me.
How would you suggest people can get involved with ministry to refugees if they just can't contribute financially, if it's just not an option for them? What else can be done?
Yeah. So we, you could get involved with a church that is doing it. And we saw some support from some other individuals do that. We saw some financial support to our church from other churches that weren't able to walk through and do a sponsorship themselves, which was good and amazing. But there was some other support that we received as well, like just transportation to and from doctor's appointments and language training and job interviews. And one of the big challenges that we faced was affordable housing. We live in an expensive area. And it was a challenge to find some really adequate affordable housing. And so there's just all kinds of areas. And then just whatever expertise you have to be able to bring to the table to help. So we saw so many people, English people who speak English well can help in our English conversation circles in so many different areas. So I think too often we underestimate the resources and the values that we actually have, that God has blessed us with, that we can just pour in some way to some organization or church that's doing this.
Yeah, we don't always think about all those little details that are there, right? And the opportunities that you can use to help other than financially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, what would you say has been the most rewarding aspect of all of this? And I know you touched on it a little bit already when you shared kind of the personal impact it's had, but can you think of anything else that maybe more as the church? How has that been rewarding?
Yeah, I mean, we just saw the hand of God and the provision of the Lord all the way along. Like I said, this was a really big financial faith step for us. And we just saw so many times God provide. Even a great story that I'll tell you. So Talene had a very good catering business back home and was wanting to start that here. and had been looking for a new food processor and was out shopping and saw one, but it was a very expensive one, and she just decided to wait. It was a little too expensive at that time. And there was a lady in our church whose niece was moving and was going through her things, and gave something to her aunt and said, you know, maybe there's somebody who could use this. And her aunt took a picture of it and showed it to Talene, and it was the exact food processor. Same color, same everything.
That's amazing.
That she was actually wanting.
Wow.
And that's just one of so many stories that we just have seen God's hand provide. And it just recertifies my conviction, my spirit.
Yeah.
When we do what God's telling us to do, when we reach out to people like Jesus wants us to reach out, He provides. And He helps. I'm a little emotional thinking about that. I just saw over and over and over again people giving of their heart and God providing in so many unique ways, financially, but also in relationship, and it was inspiring.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. You've inspired me, and it's really encouraging as a Christian to see what ministries are doing to help when there's such a great need, an overwhelming need, really. So thank you for what you're doing as a church, and thank you for sharing with me today.
Thanks so much.
Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
In Matthew 25, verse 40, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." The Ministry of Light for All Nations loves and supports the suffering people in Syria by providing families with food and much-needed items. The Lord our God has not forgotten them. They are much loved and precious in His sight.
Welcome, Talene. I'm so happy to have you here with me today for our conversation. As you know, we recently interviewed Pastor Kevin from Glad Tidings Church, and they were involved in bringing you and your family over to Canada. Before we begin with our conversation, maybe you could share with me just a little bit about yourself and your family.
My name is Talene. So I came to Canada with my whole family, 11 person. My husband and 2 kids. I have one son and 1 daughter. With my moms and single brother, my cousin, and 1 brother is married, 2 kids and wife. So we are 11 here, and we are very happy because we came safe place. Because we heard about Canada is very safe place. So we are here now.
Yeah, and it was quite a journey, obviously, to get you here, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit, about what it was like to come here. Can you first tell me a little bit about Syria, what you remember about living in Syria before the conflict became so bad?
Everything it was good there before war, but after everything it's broken. You know, we live at our home, our work, and just we key the door and without going back, and we left from Syria and we came. When it start war, you know, I came before to Lebanon because we don't have by land to go to Jordan. So we came to Lebanon. We stayed there 9 months because that time Jordanian government not allowed to welcome Syrians. So I have to stay there 9 months, and it was very difficult. In Lebanon, we live in tiny house in between people is not understand Syrians people. I don't know why, I can't understand, but it's very, very hard. I live in Lebanon. And after that time, after 9 months, Jordanian government opened for Syrian again. So I reached to Jordan. We start our life, new life there.
Did you plan to stay in Jordan? Was that
Yes, yes.
plan?
I plan to stay there and complete our life there.
Okay.
But because also government, it's not allowed give to Syrians people paper document for working, for everything.
Yes.
So this is very hard for us. We can't stay there without this. So when we heard about Canada is a very safe place for refugees. So that time we prepare ourselves. We come to here. We prepare when pastors told us, if you won't go to Canada, I am thinking about how I can go. I'm so good. I'm good in Jordan because we're moving every year. It's not easy for us. Yes.
You're uprooting your whole family.
Yes, from
every
beginning.
time.
Every time
Yeah.
we start new. So for this, we say if all family together, why not?
Yeah.
When we came from Syria, it's not easy road also. ISIS stopped us, and I'm with my daughter. Scary, very scary. How many times?
Tell me more about that, about being stopped, and because that just must have been exactly what you said, so terrifying.
Yeah.
Can you share more about that?
Yeah, it's not easy when you are going to on the way and ISIS stopped you. You scare, like his face is I can't, like Satan. You scare, and everybody say for me you have to cover your head. I say I don't want cover because Jesus is my cover. So I trust to God, and I went to Lebanon.
That was very brave of you to say
yes,
that.
everybody say this because just I and my daughter, we traveled to Lebanon.
Wow.
After my husband come, not all together. So this is very hard. On the way, I'm scared, and it's not easy.
No. Well, you're
How
a
many
strong
time?
woman.
How many time stopped ISIS for us and say give ID? I give, but I'm shake like. But thank God we arrived to Lebanon. Peace, yeah.
And how long did you spend in Jordan before Canada happened?
2.5 years I stayed there.
And what were the conditions like? I know you described, finding work was difficult, being a Syrian and not having the proper visas to work and things like that.
Yeah.
How were just the living conditions for you there?
In Jordan, we are safe. Yeah, really, I can't say something because government is very good already. But just because, its country is very small, he can't bring more refuge there.
Yes.
So for this, they have to go some people from Jordan. I'm good there, but we have to come. So when we came to Canada, it's different. I heard about Canada. It's a very safe place, but winter time it's very hard.
Yes.
When we came first day, I'm surprised, very windy. So just we thinking how we can live. But
so you arrived in the winter then
winter
too.
time in February.
What a change.
Yeah, it's different, very hard for us. But I trust to God. Before, many years ago, before war, God gave me promise from His word when He say, put your bread on the water and will come back for you. This is my promise. He's from Him. So long time, just I say, God, I know you will provide us. And really, when I came here, it's Canadian people amazing. Not just what I accept, more than what I accept from them. Everybody help us, everybody. I can't say just from church and outside church, everybody help us.
That's
amazing
Yeah.
people, yes, amazing.
I'm proud to live in a country that values accepting refugees, and I think as of January 2017, it was over 40,000 refugees from Syria have been accepted to Canada, and I'm thankful for that because you're the proof, you know, it's families
Yes.
like yours that get another chance to begin their life as a family, just like all of us want.
Canada blessing country, I
Yeah.
think. Will be blessed every nations also, I think.
With the call of God to evangelize, Nizar Shaheen founded the Media Ministry of Light for All Nations more than 30 years ago. He has produced the first and longest-running Arabic language Christian broadcast in the world, resulting in thousands coming to salvation. Programs have been translated into several languages and can be seen worldwide on the internet and on several satellite channels. Visit Light for All Nations on the web at lfan.org.
Can you tell me a little bit more maybe about your experience specifically with being sponsored by the church, by Glad Tidings, and how all of that worked out?
So I tell you, I accept more than what I accept. You know, it's everybody good. Yeah, each one help us different, not just because with money. Help is not just with money. You know, everybody help us, and I'm grateful for everyone help us, and everyone entered my life because I learn more from them. You know, it's they has different faithful, you know, it's I can't explain.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's very amazing people. Everybody help us, so we don't need something. When we came, I think I will need this, so everything. What he say, Pastor Kevin, when I say I need the processed food, just came. And same like this, car, everything. Yeah. What we need, provide. God is provide us between and use people to help us.
Yeah, it sounds like everything that you would need just on a practical level to start a new life in a new country, that they were able to be there for you guys.
When somebody asks me what hard things in Canada, I can't say something. No.
That was actually going to be one of my questions to you.
I don't have,
tell me about the challenges, you know.
I don't have never hard things in Canada. In Lebanon, maybe more hard, and Jordan, but in Canada, really I say, because it's people amazing.
Was there anything that surprised you about life in Canada? Because you said you knew a little bit about Canada, and you heard it was a safe country, but was there anything that kind of shocked you or surprised you, anything unexpected?
Little bit, you know, it's living in apartment is different, not like our country. In apartment for us hard little bit, because when we want to make laundry, you know, we have to go down. And this things in my life this is hard, but we learn.
Yeah, you're learning to adjust.
We're learning. Yeah. Just for me, the hardest things, not here, hardest things in my country, we live my friends and relatives, and like my heart there.
Yeah,
we couldn't make something, just we can pray for them, and God, He can do everything. It's possible for God, everything.
Yeah, it must be really difficult to watch the news, to hear everything going on, knowing that that's your home, you know, and family, friends, everything. How are they doing, though, your family and your friends? How are they coping with everything in Syria?
Just we call and we talk with them, and always crying and saying without electric, without water, with bomb, you know, it's very dangerous. So we can't do something. just we pray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're a very brave woman, very strong woman. I mean,
Thank you.
I can't believe that it was just you and your daughter facing all those checkpoints and all those crossings, and very scary.
Yeah, now when
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this, I say, how I can
Yeah.
do this?
Yeah. That's how I'm
Because
feeling.
we began fear to, you know, we couldn't go to work, we couldn't go to shopping for feed. So this is very hard. How I can stay there,
Yeah.
in that situation, you know?
Well, it sounds like you made a very difficult decision for the best of your family, for the
Yes.
best intentions.
Yeah.
I just want to back up just a little bit to one thing you said. You mentioned that God gave you a promise.
Yeah.
And I think you had mentioned a verse that was from Ecclesiastes, and I can't remember the exact verse, but about, you know, putting your bread on the water and almost like a symbol of your faith. Your faith will be rewarded. Your patience will be rewarded. Can you tell me a little bit more about your personal faith in Jesus, and if you feel like, you know, the promise is starting to happen for you? Can you tell me about that?
Always I have promise from God, and I trust God. You know, when He give me promise from Him, I know He will do in my life. So I know when I came here, I know where I coming. I'm not shocked because He provide us from them, so He can provide us here also.
So you believed
I believe.
right from the beginning that God
Yeah.
would see you through this
Yes.
and see your family through to
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah. Example, when my daughter, she was small, I take also from God one promise. He say He will provide her everything, everything. So before she go to school, God, He cover her schools, everything what she need in a school. From Syria start to Jordan, we don't know we will coming to Lebanon, Jordan. Okay, we came to Lebanon and same things. We came to Jordan, same in a school, everything is covered. And here now we are in public school.
Yes.
Government is
Yep.
so. I know like this, you know. I know God when He says something, He do.
Yeah. Follow through.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing today. I'm really honored that you came and that you shared your struggles and your story with me. And you've inspired me. I mean, I just think you're such a strong woman, and God bless you and your family. Thank you so much.
Just I want to say also, thank you for government, Canadian government. He help us, and we came here refugees, Syrians refugee. He opened his door, and we are safe place here now. Thank you so much.
We'll be right back.
In Matthew 25, verse 40, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." The Ministry of Light for All Nations loves and supports the suffering people in Syria by providing families with food and much-needed items. The Lord our God has not forgotten them. They are much loved and precious in His sight.
Such an interesting story that Talene has, and I mean, wow, the bravery that she showed trying to cross borders, just her and her daughter. I can't imagine. What were you thinking as you were listening to her?
Yeah, well, you know, that's really courageous, and I call it the grace of God. You know, Sarah, I have been in Syria, and I have interviewed many families. And just imagine, like, one family, 19 members of one family were killed. Another family, 11 members. You know what? They asked them, deny your faith, deny Jesus, and say, believe in, in Islam. I'm talking about ISIS dealing with this family. They refused. Tuck, 11 people they killed. I interviewed a woman. Her husband was killed and her young son was killed. But the success story, she forgave and she left, to God's justice. Another story is, another lady, her son was kidnapped and he was tortured by ISIS. And he was begging them, kill me, just end my life. He was in such a torture because they were waiting for the money. So the family sold the house, they sold everything, they have zero to bring their son. But when they received their son, he was like a vegetable, nothing. I can say another story, young man, like a big, bomb came into, he's alive, but he is, deformed. There's so many stories. Others, they had to flee, but in such a condition, like horrifying condition. And it is very, very sad. And our ministry is involved with these people. We preach the gospel. We cover all over the world with the message of Jesus. But lately we have been involved in Iraq and also in Syria to help people right there. Because there are more refugees in Syria than any place else inside of their country.
And I think it's important to hear stories like Talin's because it puts a face to all these statistics and numbers that we hear and how big the crisis is. It's hard for us to make it personal. But when we see her and we hear her story, we realize that she's a human and there's so many people affected just like she is. And we can put a face to it,
Yes, and remember, thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, they have a similar story like Talin. I hope you enjoyed this program, but I do ask you to stand with us so that we can keep preaching the gospel and spreading the love and the good news of Jesus Christ. You can write or call us. I pray that the Lord will bless you and bless your family and also your children. I was, before I became to faith, I was, fighter. But when I accepted Jesus, I tried to imitate Jesus. You see, these, ISIS and other terrorist organizations, they tried to imitate a culture of death. And that's what we need to really address in Canada, in the United States, anywhere else, Because if we keep watering down, and if we don't speak about the truth is truth, one day we are going to hurt ourselves, and this kind of violence you are building on a shaky ground, one day the whole ground will crumble.
You're watching Yes TV.
It's our first house. We're homeowners.
Oh, this is awesome.
You want to move in?
Yeah, this kitchen is getting done. It's a good thing we opened it up.
Look how much space there is in this floor. This is next, right?
So the table and the banquettes, it's so close to completion. What are you doing?
Just looking at room by room budgets, what we've spent, including the kitchen, where it's at, and how much we need to finish it.
I know all this budget stuff.
What does Melissa say that we need to spend to finish the kitchen?
We're looking probably between $50,000 and $60,000.
So $50,000.
We listed all the items between 50